Naira Bets, your home for online horse racing and betting. Use Naira Bets to bet on live horse racing from around the world. Bet from anywhere, anytime using your computer or mobile device. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions and earn cash rebates. Sign up at NairaBets.com and start earning your sign-up bonus today. Get a $200 new member sign-up bonus to bet the Belmont. Naira Bets, the official betting site for the Belmont Stakes.
Well, we're just hours away now from the third jewel of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes, presented by Naira Bets. It's the final leg. Yes, we lost some of the star power, there's no doubt, but what we do have is an extraordinarily competitive 12-horse field and the real possibility that you can find some long shots. The morning line favorite is the 7 Irish War Cry, and he's the legitimate morning line favorite. We'll take a look at him winning the Wood Memorial, and he ran very well in the Wood Memorial, just as he ran well in the Holy Bull. He figures to be in a good position, perhaps behind horses like Meantime and maybe Gormley. He'll have to work out that good outside trip he seems to like, and if he can do that, and he has the stamina, and stamina is a question for all of these horses, he's probably the horse to beat. He's the one who's got 2 triple-digit buyers. There are very few triple-digit buyers in the PPs of these horses. In fact, only one other horse even ran 1. The negative on him is he's a sort of hit-or-miss horse. He's run a couple of lousy races, and we'll get to his Derby in a second. Also, the Wood Memorial speed was really helped along on that Wood card, and it hindered closer, so it may have exaggerated his performance. He got away with a pretty moderate pace in the Holy Bull. That doesn't figure to be the pace in this Belmont. Now, I can make an excuse for the Derby. He chased 3 to 4 wide the whole way, and imagine if he had that trip on the Gold Rail on the inner track. We wouldn't knock him for losing by 20 lengths, and I think that's a bit of what happened in the Kentucky Derby. He's the right horse to bounce back in here. He's the right favorite. It just doesn't feel like a race where I want to bet the favorite. So he ends up being my third choice in this race, but I'll be using him in multis, and I'll be using him defensively as well in any bets that I make. We'll move on to the horse from Japan, Epicharis. We'll see with Epicharis. Hopefully he'll be okay to run. There have been some issues with his foot. Hopefully he's over those. He is a talented horse. This is winning the Hyacinth back in Tokyo 2 starts back. The problem with him is we have no idea who he was facing. At least I don't have any idea who he was facing over in Tokyo. And if you do have a good line on that, more power to you. He was 1-2, 1-9, and 2-5 in his 3 races. So I think there's a good chance he was meeting relatively overmatched opponents. And in this race at 2-5, he only won by 3/4 of a length. Hardly hugely impressive for a 2-5 shot. The UAE Derby is the only race that we have to go on. Unfortunately, he was running a muddy track. But he lost to a horse, Thunder Snow, who we don't really know if he's a dirt horse. He's a good turf horse, but he didn't do any running the Derby. But obviously, you can throw his Derby out. He didn't basically run. But the third horse, Master Plan, came back in our Peter Pan, was a complete no-show in a wet track. So it's hard to judge who he ran against. And as the 4-1 second choice, he doesn't appeal to me. Will I be shocked when he beats me? I'm not going to be shocked when anybody beats me in this race. But I'm not taking one at a short price. Tapwrit is a horse that I would consider. He ends up being my 4th choice in this race. Tapwrit, this is him winning the Tampa Bay Derby. Now, he's okay, and Todd Pletcher, I think the best thing going for Tapwrit is that Todd Pletcher has had a lot of success with horses that he's run in the Kentucky Derby that may not have run as well that come back in the Belmont. I mean, not just his winners, but we saw horses like Stay Thirsty run well, Commissioner Destin, and people are going to compare this one to Destin, who also ran down at Tampa. The thing about Tapwrit is his Kentucky Derby actually looks okay. He had some trouble. He was a bit squeezed in the start because he was between that Classic Empire Irish War Cry sandwich at the start. But the thing is, he didn't really start running in the Derby until he got down on the rail in the stretch. And I think the rail, especially in the stretch, was like a conveyor belt down in the Kentucky Derby. So I think it might have exaggerated his performance a bit. He's my 3rd choice. I'm going to use him. I'm afraid his odds may drop down a little bit too low as well. Let's go out to California and look at Gormley in the Santa Anita Derby. I've been critical of Gormley in the past, and I think the fair criticism of him is this race that he ends up winning. He got an absolutely perfect trip, just a beautiful ride, too, from Victor Espinoza in what turned out to be a very slow pace. And the horses that ran better were Royal Mo and Battle of Midway. Now, Battle of Midway ran a respectable 3rd with a good trip in the Kentucky Derby. So maybe it enhanced that race. The thing about Gormley is he actually ran really well in the Kentucky Derby. He was a legitimate 5 wide the entire way around the racetrack on a track that was heavily tilted to the inside. And you see him 9th beaten 14. Maybe it's splitting hairs, but if Victor Espinoza hadn't eased him late in the race, he would have finished 7th, beaten about 11.5 or 12. Doesn't make him much better, but with his wide trip compared to Tapwrit, I think he's better from the Derby than Tapwrit, and it'll be a bigger price. Distance, though, is not as big a question with Tapwrit as it is for Gormley. I would love Gormley if he was running in the Woody Stevens. I don't love him at 1.5 miles, but I think he'll be a price, and I'm going to use him. He's actually my second choice. Let's talk about a few horses coming out of the Preakness. Senior Investment, who finished third, Looking at Lee, and Multiplier behind them. I don't love any of these horses. Now, they are horses with upside, and I think if you like Senior Investment, the positive is every race he runs for trainer Kenny McPeak, he either duplicates or improves his prior buyer figure. So he seems to be a horse that you could rely on to maybe take a little bit of a step forward. Thought he got a pretty good trip in here, and I don't like that a whole bunch of them finished a distant 3rd through 7th in this race. It almost looked like a turf race behind Cloud Computing and Classic Empire with a bunch of horses clunking up. That's my problem. I don't love Multiplier's effort. Maybe he'll run better. It's not like he's run badly in his races, and he's lightly raced. He could improve for a very good trainer in Brendan Walsh. I just haven't seen it. Now there's Looking at Lee, who's 5-1. He's a very admirable horse. He shows up and he runs well week after week, race after race after race. I don't think the Triple Crown has taken a toll on him. I think he's running very well. The problem is, where's his finish? He just seems to clunk up for a piece. He didn't do any exceptional running in the Preakness, and he's fast enough to have a chance, but his deep closing style isn't great for Belmont Stakes. And once again, none of these horses will shock me, but at 5-1, Looking at Lee, he's going to beat me in this race. Let's take a look at J-Boy's Echo, because J-Boy's Echo is going to be my top choice in this race. I don't think he's the likeliest winner, but I think he's a horse that's going to offer some value. This is winning the Gotham. Let's be clear. He got a dream setup in the Gotham. It was a gold rail. He drew the inside. He spent the vast majority of the rail before he had to angle out to go around tiring horses who were involved in a very fast pace. And Cloud Computing did run a better race than him. Cloud Computing chased the pace. He moved before him, and he never gave up in the stretch. But Cloud Computing won the Preakness. Now, this was Cloud Computing's second race, and he's improved since then. But what I like about J-Boy's Echo is he has actually the fastest buyer speed figure in this field, and he's going to be a price. And when you look at J-Boy's Echo, the race I have a problem with is the Preakness. Is the Bluegrass. In the Bluegrass, he didn't really run well. But it was a bit of a merry-go-round race where besides the speed who just fell through the field, they all ran in place around there, and he had early trouble and was out of position. The Derby, he was eliminated early, completely and totally eliminated from the race, and he didn't seem to handle the track at all. I'm going to give him a pass. His trainer, Dale Romans, has been very good in these big spots, and he appeals to me at a big price because I think he has that big race in him. And from all reports, he's working very well. His last work was very good. Let's take a look at Meantime, who may be the main speed in this race, and this is his second-place finish in our Peter Pan behind a very promising horse in Timeline, who could have maybe been the favorite had he run this Belmont Stakes. Meantime is a good horse. I'd like to see him on a dry track. We'll see in Saturday's Belmont on a dry track, because his last race has been on wet tracks. I just don't see him winning this Belmont, because I don't see him having horses like Gormley and Irish Warcry breathing down his neck, dealing with them, and then holding off closers. This is an ambitious spot for an excellent trainer in Brian Lynch. I'm not taking him, but I think that this is a horse, Meantime. At some point later in the year or next year, you're going to hear from Meantime. How about Twisted Tom for trainer Chad Brown, the rail? The problem with Twisted Tom is he's supposed to be about 50-1 here. But because it's Chad Brown, and he deserves a lot of respect, he's going to be a much shorter price. And Twisted Tom is slow. I mean, he's running buyer figures in the 70s. I like him. I mean, he's an overachiever. He's a New York bred. He's gone down to Laurel and won a couple of races. He seems to be improving with each start. But, man, he has got to take a giant leap forward to be at all contentious here, because speed figures do matter. Once again, the 1.5 miles is a great equalizer. And if he were 40-1 and you told me you were going to take a flyer with him, I would say have at it. I'm not going to tell anybody not to take a long shot in this race, because there might be somebody in here that just dying to run 1.5 miles, and he's going to improve 8 lengths, and everybody else is going to take a step backwards. Maybe it's Twisted Tom, but he's not fast enough to be on my tickets. Then there's Patch, who drew post 20 in the Kentucky Derby, and he drew post 12 in our Belmont Stakes. Here he is finishing second 2 starts ago behind Gervin in what was not a particularly fast-running Louisiana Derby. I know, Patch is everybody's darling. He's got the one eye, and he's a cool story. His sire, Union Rags, won this race with John Velasquez, who's riding Patch. I love that his connections, they are ambitious. They want to be in big races. He just hasn't done enough running for me to be competitive in this race. So, and the other problem is he's not going to be 50-1. He was 14-1 in the Derby. He should have been 114-1. So he's going to take attention because he's a story horse. So he's not on my tickets. I think he's a talented horse. I just don't know if he's talented enough to win this race. Hollywood Handsome, the same situation. He's an improving horse for Dallas Stewart. He comes out of his best buyer figure yet, running down at Churchill Downs. He just doesn't look good enough to me. This is a Belmont Stakes where I think you're supposed to make sure you're using at least one or two prices in your play. Figure out on your own who they are. You don't have to follow me. This could be a wide-open race in a mile and a half. My picks, the 4 J-Boys Echo over the 3 Gormley, the 7 Irish Warcry, and the 2 Tapwrit. 4-3-7-2 in the Belmont Stakes presented by Naira Bets. Want to remind people there will be a 10% winner's bonus on the Belmont Stakes trifecta. Mobile device only. That's in Belmont Stakes through Naira Bets. Go to NairaBets.com for more information on this and other things we're offering. And something else we're offering, a $200 sign-up bonus with the promo code Belmont. Use the promo code Belmont. Bet 200, get 200 on Naira Bets. Go to NairaBets.com for more information. The Belmont Stakes, presented by Naira Bets, is just hours away.